Who was the worst guest that stayed at your house? My wife's friends had stayed over after a party because they lived pretty far away. I was in the kitchen making coffee in the morning and the friend's wife came up the basement stairs into the kitchen wearing nothing but her underwear. She didn't say anything to me, she just shuffled past and went back into the spare bedroom. I was curious what she was doing down there, so I went and I checked. It turns out in her drunken state she couldn't find either one of the bathrooms upstairs on the main level, so she went into the basement and crapped beneath the stairs all over the floor. When her husband came out of the bedroom, I told him that he had a mess to clean up and directed him to the basement so he could find his wife's surprise. That's when he decided to use our clean bath towels to smear her crap all over my basement floor. Then he just tossed the towels into the laundry tub. I never spoke to either one of them again. One good thing did come out of it though. We now get to say crap the basement drunk as the top of the drunkenness meter. A woman named Misty. My roommate met her at a party and invited her back. She stayed the night, yeah whatever, but then didn't leave the next day. She just hung out. Even asked if we were going to buy more soda. She stayed the night again, on the couch. 2 days later we drove her to a family member just to get rid of her. My partner at the time's brother spent the whole week trying to walk in on me changing in the shower. My mom was my worst guest ever. We moved her because she lost her job and was staying with random people. She never offered to help with anything. Left my house a pigsty at all times. When she would get her unemployment she'd buy herself the most random crap. Stayed up all hours of the night and got incredibly crappy in the morning if my young children would wake her up. And would purposely get in awful fights with my husband because she hated him and didn't want me married to him. I asked her if she would watch my children so I could go back to work to help support her, and she freaked out that I wasn't planning on paying her to babysit. After 2 years, I really tried to ignore it and continue helping. We had to kick her out. When I was 17, my older brother brought 2 of his college friends from school to stay for a weekend in the town he was raised. They went to the Citadel in Charleston, so they are cadetish. Anyway, my mom caught one of them smelling my 12-year-old sister's stockings and preteen girl underwear. My mom kind of freaked and was in semi-shock and came in and told my brother in front of me and the other friend. What was even more awkward is the guy tried to play it off like he thought it was my room, and he was looking for my weed. He said he was sniffing because he could smell weed somewhere, and wanted to smoke. My mom wanted so hard to believe this that she actually accused me of having weed in my room, which was upstairs. My best mate was hooking up with the new barmaid at our local and she got horrendously wrecked on booze and coke at a post-pub party at my parents' house. For some reason she decided to grab a kitchen knife and slit her wrist. In the ensuing struggle to wrestle the knife from her hand as she went to slash her other wrist, she managed to place her arm against the wall, leaving a nice blood smudge right there in the kitchen. We then kicked her out and she gave me and my girlfriend at the time a load of crap on Facebook for being unreasonable. Believe it or not, my mate ended up dating her for about 2 years and she continued to be an absolute train wreck. When he finally got rid of her from his life, it was a really joyous moment for me and the rest of our friendship cycle. The last I heard of her, she unexpectedly inherited a few £1,000,000 from her father, who she hadn't seen since she was about 2 years old, and she's now living a few hundred miles away breeding horses. So as for worst house guest, it's either her or the dude who peed in my kettle and then boiled it. My sister-in-law a couple months before my wedding. She was controlling everything, from the food we eat to the way I should place things in my wallet. I freaked my crap when she started making a list of my family members and who should be invited or not. Added detail, her other sister, a week before our wedding, told me all men cheat. Without a doubt, hands down, the friend whose family came up to my lake house for a week. Her 10-year-old had a bedwetting problem. Understandably, no one wants to talk about that, except when I tease time to change the sheets when the guests are gone. OMG, I had to throw out a brand new mattress. My roommate's friend needed a place to crash while he found an apartment. We had a spare room but he didn't want to rent it. After 3 weeks it became obvious he was trying to stay with us for free when he brought all of his clothes and stuff. So we charged him rent for next month if he planned to stay longer. Stole our Xbox and disappeared. But he left all his stuff, which was worth a lot more. We didn't bother calling the cops and just told him to bring back the Xbox or he can't get his stuff. He never responded and we just made a 1k profit selling his crap. My mum, she helped pay the deposit for me, then treated it like she owned the place whenever she needed somewhere to stay, to the point that my GF at the time threatened to move out over the way she was treated. Whenever I raised the issue, she would remind me that without her I wouldn't have a place to live, etc. I sold the place at auction eventually, gave her back her deposit, and cut her out of my life. Not purely over this, you understand, but it was a big part of it. Probably not as bad as other stories in this thread, but my girlfriend and I went away for a week and a half, and a friend of ours volunteered to house sit and take care of our pets. 2 cats and 2 lizards. We made sure they knew what to do and wrote a care sheet for each animal, and what they needed to do to keep the animals healthy while we were away. Feed the cats, clean their litter, chop up veggies for the lizards and feed them bugs, and give the lizard a quick bath if she poops because she'll definitely run around in it. So after we ran our friend through our daily routine to care for our pets, we said our goodbyes and went away. When we came back, our apartment looked nice, but there was a heavy cat pee cat crap smell all over the apartment, and when I checked on my lizard, she had crap all over her underside. Not cool. Bearded dragons have salmonella in their fesses, and this meant she ran a risk of getting very sick if she ran over her food. We ended up having to take her to the vet for a $300 vet bill for tail rot and to check for food poisoning. The cat litter was literally solid. When confronted, he said he had just forgotten to clean it once before he left, but it looked exactly like a week and a half worth of 2 cats' pee-poos. Our one cat was so fed up with the amount of pee-poos in the litter that we saw him peeing on the floor, which has never once happened before or since this incident. It was clear to us that he did next to nothing to care for our pets like he promised he would. He just volunteered to stay in our apartment because it was an hour closer to his new job, and completely used us. We used to be great friends, but I haven't seen them more than once in the 2 years since this incident. Hard to trust someone after they pull a stunt like that. An ex-friend. I smelled something horrible when I was cleaning the guest bathroom after she left. It was like a mix of fish and rotten eggs. It was so strong it made me gag. And then I found the source. It was her used panties. We moved into this new house. Apparently the people who lived there before us never told their friend they moved. He let himself in and went into the bathroom unnoticed. I went in there some time later and found this random guy passed out with a needle in his arm in my new freaking bathroom. Worst first night in a new house ever. Oh man. This guy I was friends with in college invited himself to my parents' place in the summer when I went to go house sit, about 2 hours away. Very braggadocious, loud and annoying, but I didn't think it would be that bad. A short list of things he was able to do in 3 days. Talk about how much he hustles and how much money he has and how great of a time we're going to have. Proceeds to bring 1/4 of a 26-ounce bottle of Patron and a gram of bud, then leeches off everyone else for the remainder of the 3 days, refusing to chip in because he already pitched. Accused my brother of stealing his hat. My brother's head was nowhere near his size, nor would he wear a flat Bill Camo J's cap. He went on about it for 2 days. Hit on every girl I had over, aggressively, to the point they all asked me to keep him away. He then invited over a 40-year-old woman and banged her behind a group of trees in my backyard. Lit a blunt he didn't roll or contribute to in the hallway of my parents' house the morning of them coming back. We had it ready for after cleaning and he just walked into the house, sparked it and looked shocked when we screamed at him to put it out. Refused to help clean before my parents got back. He hid in the bathroom or backyard for the entire 2 hours we all spent cleaning. When my parents did come home, he became this super fake polite person. My parents saw through his BS and knew right away this guy was a douche. He came with us to my hockey game that night and my parents said all he did was brag about how much the girls in the arena, all watching their boyfriends play, wanted him, and he's doing those guys a favor by not hitting on them because those girls would be mine. When we were finally heading back, we blew a tire on the highway. Rather than help, he stood there and watched 2 of us do it. No offers of help. Nothing. When we finally got the car back on the road, he complained that it took so long and wanted to stop for food. I'm a very patient man. At this point, I just wanted to get him out of the car and go home. We dropped him off at his house and he was delusional enough to think we all had a good time. He said thanks for an awesome time. When are we doing this again? I said never and we drove away. I've ignored him ever since. My sister's boyfriend. I have never actually hated anyone until I was forced to live with this guy for 2 weeks. He was an ungrateful prick and extremely disrespectful to my parents and sister. I'll refer to him as M. M was staying at my parents' house because my sister inadvertently got him kicked out of his aunt's house. She felt bad, so she asked my parents to let him stay for some time until they could find other living arrangements. He brought over all his stuff and made himself right at home quickly. He set up his Xbox in the living room and played Destiny all day because he didn't have a job. He's 27. He would constantly complain about the internet being laggy and would tell anyone who was listening that our internet is crappy. He would constantly, at least 3-4 times, take an entire loaf of pepperoni bread, fill it with cheese, bake it, eat some and then throw it away. He literally screamed at my mother that she was disrespecting him when she called his music screamo and had a hissy fit. He and my sister shared a room right next to mine, and at night I could hear him singing to her. Not so bad, except he proclaimed that he was incredibly talented and never missed a chance to mention it. The best part about his stay though was when he told me that aliens were on Earth, helped build the pyramids, and altered our DNA so that we evolved faster. He would also constantly tell my sister what to do and was very controlling. My sister now lives with him in an apartment. He recently crashed her car and fled the scene. I hate him. My sister was supposed to stay just the weekend to help after my hysterectomy. I had to kick her out after 3 months because it became painfully obvious she relapsed. Drugs. The last straw was when she became upset with me, and knowing that I'm allergic to perfume, she went through the entire house, spraying her perfume. I had to stay away from my own house for 24 hours. My poor husband and children. This was a few years back, when I was around 15 or so. My younger brother is autistic, only mildly, so we don't deal with him all that much differently than any other kid, but he can get a bit much with the questions. Feels like you're getting interrogated at times. He has so much to ask, but it's easy to cut him a little slack with it. No big deal. At the time he was around 6 and I had a friend over for a little while, just playing some games on my Xbox. My younger brother politely knocks on my door, so I tell him to come in, and he proceeds to start questioning us on what we're playing, about the game etc. Normal questions, just lots of them. Eventually my friend has had enough and tells him he needs to shut up. Younger brother responds by saying he's only asking and asks me another question. Before anyone has a chance to do anything, my friend decides to shout at him to shut up and proceeds to slap my younger brother around the head. Got kicked out pretty quick and our friendship deteriorated pretty rapidly after that. My best friend while growing up, she came over, sat on the couch and bitched the entire time about literally everything. Bitched about the food, the temperature, it was summer, how she was bored, I was trying my best to entertain her, and the list goes on and on. She was rude, swore at everyone, and whenever I was talking about something, politics for example, she would get angry and be like, when did you ever care about that, like it was something to be ashamed of. Had to call her mom, who lived 4 hours away, to come pick her up. I was so embarrassed. She treated my roommates like crap. Had a roommate allow his ex-GF to stay a few weeks with us. She was the stereotype of crazy ex and was only staying with us because her new ex-BF had been threatening to kill her, or so she claimed. She brought her cat with her, and my roommate and I already have a cat each that got along well, and her cat was a freaking bee. Obviously she was freaked out from being in a new place, but it would attack my cat, who was a 2-month-old kitten still, as he was learning how to be social and play and crap. On top of it all, she didn't have a key, so she would wait until everyone else left before she did. I mean, just leave the house and not lock the door or anything. Every day after my roommate left, if she was still home, she would use that time to call her ex and get into crazy arguing fights with him, and you could tell she wasn't all there. Each fight ended with a frick you hang up, and then she would frick my roommate when he got home. The worst part about it is she would lead him to believe they were getting closer, getting back together, that she cared about him and loved him, all while she just wanted for this crap to blow over, which happens at least once every few months. She just up and left one day and my roommate got really depressed and withdrawn for a long time. My sister, her 10-year-old, went through all our DVDs and stuffed about 6 under his coat as they left. One fell out and we discovered the rest. My sister's reaction? Boys will be boys. Are you kidding me? This dude was a family friend who my mum let in my room to play Xbox. I wasn't home at the time so I didn't see it, but I had forgotten my phone one day, so as soon I get home I frantically look for it, as I normally would. My phone was nowhere in sight, so I was like frick it, I'll look for it later and chill with this dude on Xbox. The dude seems nervous as frick, so start catching onto the Smith-Fricker. I go through one of my drawers which had about $100 in it, and guess what? It's gone. I decide to frick with this dude, so I said my phone has a tracker app on it and that I was going to report it stolen to the police, which was complete BS. But hey, he bought my story and was getting nervous. He goes over to his mum and speaks in his native language, so I can't understand. He did use phone and police in English, and at that point I knew he took both of them. I told my dad and he went apeshite on this dude, just full on shouting at him until he started crying, which was hilarious. He returned my stuff afterwards and just waited outside. His mother was crying profusely and kept apologizing and saying stuff like I never knew he had this side to him and there must be a reason why he stole your stuff. But I knew she was in on it too. I had no sympathy for either of those Smith-Frickers. Years ago, I was a recruiter for one of the armed services and one of my recruits had a brother who wanted to enlist but needed to complete his get to be eligible and needed a place to stay while completing it. The brother had become a pretty good friend and vouched for his brother so I'll let him stay with me at my home. It became obvious pretty quickly that the brother had a drinking problem. He would sneak drinks out of the bottle and pour water back into the bottle to hide what he had consumed. Worked okay with the vodka but my scotch just getting clearer and clearer. The GED program I had him enrolled in was only a 2-week program so we decided to just try to ride it out. Oops, one night about halfway through his scheduled stay, I got a 2 AM phone call from the local Air Force base saying they had recovered my stolen government car, and I should come get it and fill out some paperwork. I looked out my window and yup, my car was gone. Crap, I wasn't even supposed to have it home with me that night. I got dressed and then realized that all the liquor bottles were gone and so was the brother. The dumbass got drunk and decided to pretend he was CIA and try to get onto base. When the MPs at the gate wouldn't let him pass he tried to ram the gate and was tased and arrested. Needless to say he never completed the GED program and spent some time in the base jail. You've been visited by the toothpaste man for good teeth and fresh breath. Comment oh fresh. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.